Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is Alonso Q. Hope you're doing well. This is a quick little video I wanted to throw together. I hope I can keep it quick, because what I'm talking about today is a little pet peeve of mine, and I'm sure everybody's got a pet peeve where it's just a little thing, drives you crazy. It maybe not be that big a deal, but for some reason it gets under your skin. Well, I've got one of these pet peeves, and I came across it yesterday on Twitter. And it is this, it's a new word. I'm sure I'm hopping into this YouTube game. There's a lot of anti-SJW stuff. These guys make up a lot of words, so I'm not the only one who gets a little bit ruffled by these words that people come up with. This word in particular, we're talking about Latinx. I don't even want to say it. I'll probably say one or two more times because it makes me cringe to hear it, read it, and saying it out loud. It just doesn't feel right. It's a clunky, mushy, stupid word. Latinx. Latinx. Now, if you saw this written, you'd have no way of knowing how to pronounce it. You'd see it and you'd think Latinx, Latinx, Latinx. There's nothing about it that would make you think that it's a Latinx. So that's the first beef with it. I'm calling it a beef with a word. I know this is silly, guys. I'm a writer. I'm a lover of books and poetry, and I'm a native English speaker learning Spanish. So I really like language. I like etymology. I'm learning a little bit more about etymology and linguistics. And I think it's awesome, man. I think, because I'm a history guy too, and language is such a big part of history, because that's a lot of how you learn stuff about back in the day, is learning about changes in words and where words come from, and learning Spanish. I've found it fascinating to learn. There's a good amount of our language that comes from indigenous Mexico. Most of our food words, tomato and jalapeno and pozole and tamales, these are all Nahuatl words, and I think that stuff's fascinating, and it shows you cultural continuity across time, and you see things in the language that are left over from the Arabic period in Spain, or you see stuff from the Roman period, or Greek influence, or whatever it is. There's all these different little linguistic kinks and nuances that add subtlety to the language, and it's interesting. It tells a story when you learn about it. And so I find language fascinating, and that's why I find this word fascinating, because it's not an English word or a Spanish word, and it doesn't follow the grammatical rules of either language. So it's sort of a pulled out of left field word that doesn't make any sense linguistically. And I have a conspiracy. I'll tell you the conspiracy at the end of the video of where this word came from. But anyway, back to why it doesn't work. Because Latino is short for Latinoamericano or Latina Americana, Latin American. It's a shorter way of saying Latin American. But if you're shortening Latin American to Latino, what do you think Latino means? It means Latin. So most of the time when you're talking about Latinx, these people are talking in English. So just say Latin. Let me back up, because the argument for Latinx is because in Spanish things are either masculine or feminine. It's either Latino or Latina, and the Latino is the all-inclusive, gender-neutral. If you're talking about a group, you would say all Latinos if you're talking about everyone in the country. But there's no way to know if you're talking about all male Latinos or all Latinos in general, unless you specify further in the context of the sentence. So if it's Latinas, you're talking about females exclusively. If it's Latinos, you're talking about men or possibly everybody, based on the context. So there's some contextual clues that need to be used, and it does cause some confusion, or it's possible to cause confusion because of the way the language is. And so people make the argument there should be a gender neutral word, not just to accompany men and women in one thing, or encompass men and women in one thing. Like if sometimes you'll see Latino or Chicano written with a little the at sign because it's A and an O at the same time, and you're because you're trying to say all people and make it clear that that's what you're saying in the least amount of characters. And I get that, there's a lack of a word for that because we're using Spanish words in English, so it's hard to figure out how you do that. And this Latinx is more about not just including men and women, but including people who don't identify with either gender. It's a non-gender word. So I think it's bizarre because, like I said, this is mostly used in the English context, and that word exists. There's a gender neutral English equivalent of Latino is Latin, and people don't want to hear this because they say Latino is a different thing, but it shows where the origin of the word comes from. It means Latin. Hispanic means Spanish. But people. And that's our whole argument that Chicanos make, why they don't want to be called Latino or Hispanic, and because they're indigenous. And I understand that argument, and I might have some disagreements or agreements along certain points somebody might make along those lines. But the reality is Latino means Latin, Any of these guys will tell you that. Any of these Chicano guys will tell you Latino means Latin, and I'm not Latin, so I'm not Latino. I would disagree. I embrace the Latino term, but I'm white as shit. So, I am Spanish. I am Latino. I am indigenous too. And I am Anglo too, but that's not here nor there. The whole point is the word exists and it's Latin. And there's Hispanic too. You're usually talking about Hispanics. The difference between a Hispanic and a Latino pretty much is that Latino includes Brazilians, and how often are you talking about Brazilians when you're talking about Latinos? I don't know how many there are in the U.S. Probably a lot, but usually you're talking about Hispanics anyway. So the words exist. They're Hispanic. They're Latin. You don't need the extra word Latinx. And here's the other reason why it doesn't work. Because we covered the English reason why it doesn't work. The Spanish reason it doesn't work is basically by saying Latinx is the new word, you're putting forward the idea that the X should take the place of all the A's and the O's. Because if the problem with Latino is that it's masculine and Latina is that it's feminine, and the solution is to make it Latinx, you're basically setting that as the precedent for all words. And if you know anything about the Spanish language, they all end in O and A because they're all gendered words. Well, maybe not all. There's a few non-gendered words, but most words are gendered. And it just takes a 2-second thought experiment to figure out why this is ridiculous. Imagine if your amigo or your amiga or your amiguex, or your computadora is a computadorex. There's so many of these. There's no equivalent of a consonant followed by an X making that sound. There's no. They made it up. Everything about that word, they set the precedent for it, and it's a stupid precedent to set. I cannot imagine trying to learn Spanish or speak Spanish, pronounce words, if you had to throw an X on every A and O in the entire language. It's absurd. It's a stupid idea. I hope people don't start perpetuating it because it's dumb. And it's really catching on in these third wave feminism circles, in university circles, and they're sort of the cultural leaders a lot of times. So I hope this doesn't catch on because it's fucking dumb. Just say Latin, just say Hispanic. I know that makes you feel white, but you're white, so you have white roots. Embrace it. What the fuck? It's not a big deal. Anyway, so here's the conspiracy. Here's where I think they got this word from, and I swear to God I'm right on this. I don't even believe in God, but I swear to God I'm right on this. Fact check me. I've never looked this up, but I bet you I'm right. If you find the person who coined the term Latinx. Okay, Chicano. Chicano comes from the word Mexico. Here's one of those little linguistic things. When the Spanish came here, the X represented a sh sound. And the people that they met were the Mexica. They called it Mexico Tenochtitlan was the name of Mexico when they conquered the Aztecs. The Aztecs were known as the Mexica. That's what they called themselves. The Aztecs is a given name to the Mexica. Anyway, that's where Chicano comes from. It's a shortening of Mexicano, Chicano. The CH is supposed to represent sort of that X sound that it used to be. Now X makes more of a sound. It usually doesn't make a X sound like in English, which is another reason why Latinx is stupid, because only English borrowed Spanish words have that X sound. So they're anglicizing a Spanish word. But so that's where Chicano comes from. But a lot of people started, a lot of Chicanos started using the X instead of the CH. And it's like the new thing to call yourself a Chicano with the X. And it's a more radical way of saying you're Chicano. It looks cooler because the X is badass, man. You got Malcolm X, and you just think of X, and it's fucking in your face. It's an X, man. And I honestly believe, because Chicano right off the bat is more of a political identity than Latino, because it's a outright rejection of the labels of Latino or Hispanic in a lot of ways. Especially a lot of people consider that. So it's already more radical than Latino, and now they're putting an X on there. So it's like, oh man, how could you not be jealous of that if you're just a Latino and you can't get in on that Chicano Xness, man? So that's my theory, is Latinos were jealous of Chicanos and them getting to have an X in their identity because it just looks cool, and X is the most badass hardcore letter. So that's what they did. They threw an X over the O. They're like, no, fuck your gender, X, Latinx. I'm not Latina, I'm Latinx. Fuck that. X that shit out. X, I'm revolutionary. This is X. I'm fucking Malcolm X. And that's what I think. I swear to God, it's all about looking badass. They want to seem more radical than they are. Guess what? You're a Latin. You're Latino. You're Latina. Okay, if you want to call yourself Latinx, I'm not going to jump down your throat and say, no, don't. But I'm going to assume you mean you're transgender or something, because the words already exist. You're messing with nothing. Yeah, we're in a new time. We got to re-examine language and gender and stuff, but shit, people get crazy with this. Don't go messing up the language. I'm not gonna call you my amiguex or fucking anything like that. So you know what it is. I'm just venting. This is a stupid pet peeve of mine, but don't buy into it, homies. Let's keep building. Let's talk. Let's share ideas. Let's be open to each other. Let's not, get crazy and hate and everything. I'm not trying to hate. I'm just saying it's a dumb word. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. I made my argument. I think there's no founding for it. There's no basis. There's no precedent. You're making shit up as you go. I don't like that operation. But I'm kind of a nerd. I'm kind of a language guy. I'm a history guy. So I don't appreciate people just, I'm gonna change it up. But anyway, I was meant to do like a 3-minute video. I went off. Hope you liked it. Like, subscribe. Tell me what you think. Should we use Latinx? Can you think of a better thing? Is it offensive to say Latin or Hispanic? I don't think so. I'd like to hear your opinion. I'm going to do more videos on this because I'm fascinated by race and ethnicity and identity and all this stuff. And yeah, so let me know, and I'll catch you next time, man. Peace.